Hi, I'm Chris from CodeReviewVideos.com, and in this video we're going to look at getting started with styling our login form using Bootstrap. The first thing I want to cover is what I've done with the login form. So at the end of the last video we had a login form that was working. This is still the same form, it's just styled differently. So the style that I've got is just ripped straight from getbootstrap.com, going into getting started and then into examples. And then I'm sure you're aware Bootstrap's got plenty of different examples. One of them's the sign-in page. Probably should have done this at the end of the last video, but just to demonstrate that you can do things a little differently. And then all I've done is gone to view page source and torn this entire section out. Now I've had to customize it a little bit, so you can see I've added back in our path for our form, or our action path effectively, and then also added in some of the elements, so like making sure that the IDs match up, because those are important for FOSUserBundle to work properly. I've just basically pasted in pretty much everything and just tweaked it up, added in the translations and whatnot, and then changed it up from a button to an input. Nothing particularly crazy going on there. One other thing, so in here there's also, this is something that you've got to kind of be aware of when you're ripping stuff from Bootstrap. So it's nice and styled and that it's got its own style. Now notice on ours we don't have the grey background. They've got some other customizations going on, but effectively all I've done is torn out this bit as well. So the sign in CSS, what I've done is I've just dropped that into a block style sheets, wrapped it in a style tag. I'm not advising that that's the way you would do it in your own projects. Please use something like Sass or Less, or however you're doing your CSS. Don't really drop it into templates like that, but just to cover what's happening there. So we're inside block style sheets, and then if we go and look at our layout, you can see the Symfony plugin is clever enough to find that we've got two different templates called layout.html.twig, and as mentioned in the last video, this is sort of how we do overriding our templates. So the one that we're interested in is in our app resources, effectively this one, but it is pointing to the FOSUserBundle one also. Anyway, so this is the template that we're overriding, and again we're extending out to the base there, so let's just follow that one, and you can see we've got the block style sheets at the top there. So that's really just for us to throw anything that we like in, and that's all I'm doing there is just passing in that block style sheets, and you can see passing in the styles, the custom styles. So you can see when we refresh we are getting a nice looking page. The only difference is, as I say, we don't have the grey background, and we also have this login thing at the side here. And if we were to try and log in using some bad credentials, you can see that we get an error message that says invalid credentials. That's not actually a flash message, it's part of FOSUserBundle's security controller. What that's doing is going through the form, like the login form, reapplying our details, and then getting the error from the form and giving that back to the template. So it's not actually a flash message, and that's why it doesn't appear when we style the flash messages section. Now what you can see here is if we're trying to log in and we're is authenticated remembered, so that's whether we have logged in this session or logged in using our remember me cookie, then you would expect to get the log out link displayed to you, but we won't actually get that, and that's because of where this block is inside our templates, like the inheritance structure. We need to move it outside of the FOSUser layout for that to work, which is kind of strange, but we'll cover this more in a future video on actually setting up a Bootstrap header. Now the other thing in here is the flash messages. Now it's not immediately obvious, but say for example if we failed our login for whatever reason, you might think that would be a flash message, which is really difficult for me to keep saying, but let's just give that a shot. So we throw in any old data in there and we get invalid credentials, but notice we didn't get this messy flash message that we expected. That's because we're actually not hitting that block, and that can be a little bit confusing, but instead we are hitting this if error block. So just again something to be aware of. If you're copying across the style, the templates, make sure that you copy across all the different bits, and again we'll just throw anything in there just to make sure, but we should get an error there. So what we can do is we can go to Bootstrap components, and then in here we have the alerts section. All these things are quite difficult for me to pronounce for some reason this morning, so I'm just going to copy that error tag in, and what I can do is just basically paste the style from Bootstrap into there. Let's just tidy that up a touch and just make sure that it's all nice and formatted. and get rid of that silly error there as well. And then if we go back and try logging in again, we should get something a little bit nicer this time. So again, we want to get rid of that login, but you can see immediately we're starting to get something that actually looks like a working nicely styled form.